All right.
This meeting is
So did you
being
complete
recorded.
those practicals? Yes? Everyone? Okay. Noah? Girls? Yeah. Q. Guys, just a second. Okay. So practicals done. So nowadays more market most demanded tool is EKS. Kind of like, it depends. Everything is there, no? So in order to work on EKS, first you need to know the Kubernetes, right? EKS is now what are we doing? We are setting up the Kubernetes cluster manually, with KOps, and we are handling it. So we are managing, we are installing, we are setting up, we are doing everything by ourselves. Which one? KOps. But whereas in AWS, we have EKS, you can directly from clicks, you can create the Kubernetes cluster. So you just need to connect to that Kubernetes cluster and start doing the same commands. The only difference is what? Same, everything is same. Only cluster is managed by AWS. Here the cluster is managed by us. That's the difference. Okay. So in our last class, we worked on, no, I didn't set up the cluster. I was busy. What we do is, in our yesterday's class, we worked on how to set up KOps clusters, and then we have seen the cluster. Have you done this? Scaled up worker nodes, master node worked? Huh? It will take time. Of course, it will take time, because whenever you're starting the cluster, it will take time. No, so it will take time, and then in the nodes also I put it as it will take time. So when you do KOps list nodes, then it will take time to show up. But it worked, right? Yeah. Okay. So yesterday we worked on this KOps installation. We have done scale out scaling for the master nodes and worker nodes. And also we have done some deployments, replications, and also we have done the namespaces, right? And then yesterday we created multiple namespaces and started creating pods in the individual namespace. And at the end, we could able to delete the pods from one page, sitting from one page, one namespace, and then we are deleting the other spot in the another namespace, which is not good. For that reason, here RBAC came into picture. So what is the full form of RBAC? Role-based access control. What's that? So before we talk about all these things, first I need to set up the cluster. No, should go and quickly set up the cluster. So I just launched an EC2 instance. So we will set up the cluster first. Okay, so let's go first edit our bash RC, and then I'll export this first of all. I'll do quickly because we have already learned this, huh? And then, and by the way, so for this, what I need to add? Otherwise, it will not work, because it will create so many VPCs, not so many VPCs, so many components like VPCs and all. So, are you using my bucket? No, right? You changed, right? Otherwise, I cannot create it. Yeah. Guys, can you hear me properly? What it says? Someone already created with this. Or else did I? No. So what is the error? Bucket already. So I told you, no, someone has already created, no? Hmm. What is the error here? Clearly shows, no? Dinesh. So simply what I do is police is calling another police, Sumalika. That's how you are trying. No, so-called DevOps. So, yeah, correct, Sumalika. I understood your so-called DevOps engineers. I know. So simply what I do here, I'll put what? For. Anything else? Only those things, right? Okay, let's do it again. Guys, so-called DevOps engineer, please delete that bucket. My bucket in your bucket. It's not good to keep my bucket. So this is script I'm running, guys. Yesterday I did it manually, no? So here what I did, so bash RC, you do it manually, and all these things you can put it, yeah, and then we will export this. So here I call it export, and then what we need to finally validate the cluster. So this will take time, okay? So meanwhile, let's move on to RBAC. So yesterday what we learned about setting up all these namespaces and all, and we were able to delete the other namespace pods. So for that, what we came here, this Vidit always be in the KT only. Vidit, did your senior give KT always? No. I'm the bloody senior for for everyone. Okay, no, Vidit. Okay, so RBAC. What is RBAC here? RBAC in Kubernetes is a method. No, not KT. Okay, ये KT क्या है? क्या अच्छा? KT क्या है? Knowledge transfer. KT meaning Abhishek. What is that? Knowledge transfer. Basically, when you join the companies, so what? Let's say you join a project. So do you know anything about the project? So they will not sit next to you and then keep everything because you need to do your job. No, why others people will do your job? So just to give you what is about the project, what is the architecture of the project, and what all the things that it contains. So they will transfer their knowledge to you. That's we call it as KT. What's that? So that's why KT, right? So, but that KT, don't think that they will teach like me here. Definitely no. So once you get that KT, you will cry. Okay. So Kubernetes, so RBAC, yeah. So RBAC in Kubernetes is a method for regulating access to resources in Kubernetes cluster based on roles of individual services, so users or service accounts. Yesterday I told you that we have two things. What are those? Users and service accounts. Say that again. users and service account. So as I told you, in Kubernetes, we don't create the users. It doesn't support the users. So as I told you yesterday, we need to use the third-party authentications. Like, some identity providers, third-party authentications, you need to be doing it. So, but here what we can do is, at least we can work on the service account. We can work on the service account. So what we do is, as I told you, similarly, I gave an example of IAM user yesterday. You create a IAM user. Yeah, IAM user, he has nothing but service account equal to IAM user equal to service account. Permissions you will give is nothing but roles. Permissions is nothing but what? Roles. And then you are attaching the policy to the IAM, right? A user, right? That's called role binding. What is it called? So we have three things here. Service accounts, say service account, roles, role binding. So you create a service account first. You create the roles. Roles is nothing but it contains the permissions, what that user needs to have, and then attach that role to the service account. That is called role binding. Attaching. Role binding. This is the whole concept of this RBAC. As I told you, authentication. Authentication meaning what? Who are you? Authorized meaning? What can you do? I told you this in AWS, right? Right. So authentication, who are you? That meaning, who are you? Basically, when you are logging to when you are accessing the Kubernetes cluster, first you need to authenticate. That authentication will be done by your third-party provider, identity providers. That is called authentication. Authorization meaning, once you log into the Kubernetes, what all the operations that you can do on the Kubernetes is called what? Authorization. You understand the difference between authentication and authorization? Okay. So before setting up RBAC, it's important to understand the user model. There are two ways to create users depending on the type of access that required. What are those two things I said already? One is users and other one is service account. So for the users, what we need to use? We need to use the external service providers. Whereas, somewhere I said, users are not managed by Kubernetes, because there is no API object for them to create that users. For everything we have the API version, right? Code library. There is no code library for these users to create in Kubernetes. For that reason, they use what? Third party or external service providers for authentication purpose. Okay, assume that you got authenticated. So there is one thing. Another thing is you are creating a service account. So service account meaning here we can create the service account using our kubectl. So how do we create the service account? Let's go and create a service account first. Before that, what we need to do, we will create one namespace called dev. Okay. And then we'll set the namespace called, we'll set the name, because by default we have a default namespace, no? By default we have what? Default namespace. So we'll set to the dev. And then what we do here is, after that, we will create a service account in the Kubernetes called Jack. We'll create a service account. It's all about what? Create a service account. Next, create a role. And then next, so how many manifest files I need to create for this? How many manifest files? 3 manifest files we need to create. One is for what? Service account. Next one is for role. Next one is for role binding. Okay. See and tell me, you understood or not? It's easy to understand, right? Very easy. API version is what? What's the kind I'm using here? Service account. Metadata. Name of that service account is Jack. When Jack, I'm assigning which namespace for him? Dev. So now I created a service account called Jack in which namespace? Dev. So he has permissions only to Dev. So we'll create that first. My cursor is ready. Okay. So my cursor, okay, let's go with this first and then we'll create. And then what we do, Nana? We create a next one. What do we need to do? A role. So create a role within the which namespace? Dev's namespace that allows the user Jack to perform certain actions on the pod. So what is the API version for this we need to use? RBAC authorization. Which one? These are all the interview questions, or else if you are trying to write certification questions also. If you want to do the authentication or authorization in the Kubernetes manifest files, so which API version, which code library that you use? RBAC, authorization, K8, IO/V1. Now we have app/V1, batch/V1. Similarly, this RBAC authorization K8.io/V1. What is the kind that I'm using here? Previously, I used service account. Now I am creating what? Role. Okay. So, and the role is attached to what is the namespace? Dev. And what is the name of the role? Dev pod reader. Dinesh, from where we need to see that version? What is the command to see all the API versions? Hey? Bolo. kubectl. API hyphen versions. Oops. Here. Okay. 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 See here. Again, I'm creating a role. So metadata is, so namespace, in which namespace? Dev, and the name, what is the name of the role? Dev pod reader. So I'm giving only read access. What access? This name can be anything or not. I'm just to which namespace? Dev. I'm creating, so pod reader. What's that? So what are the rules that we are giving? API group. So basically pod will, so whenever pods belong to this API group, so you just put empty. So here, since pods belong to the core API group, we use this empty stuff. And on which resources we are giving the permissions? Pod. Verbs meaning actions. Verbs meaning here, what are the things that he can do? He can get the pods, he can list, he can watch. Anything else he can create? Can he create? Can he delete? Can he do anything else? No, I'm just giving only 3 permissions. Guys, roles meaning only to give the permissions for a particular namespace here. So we created a service account and we created role. What is the next thing? Which one? Correct. What is the next one? Online. I created service account. Next, I created role. What I need to create next? Yeah, role binding. Which one? Let's go. Next, bind the, what is the role I have created? Dev pod reader. This dev pod reader role, I need to bind it to the service account. So so this is the role binding. API version is this. And what's the kind I'm using here? Role binding. And then what's the name of it? Role binding here? Read pods. And which namespace? Dev. And I'm using here something called subject. Kind user. And which one I'm assigning here? Jack. And for this authorization and role reference, what is the role I created before? Dev pod role. So I'm creating a role binding here to this user. I'm attaching this role. And what is this here? Role binding. So role binding has 2 things. One is user information. Another one is role information. You got it? Online, you're getting it now? So role binding has, this is just the name of the role binding, and role binding has 2 things. This is user information and this is what? Role information. Similarly, subjects. So in subject, kind is what? User, name is Jack, and then the role is, kind is role, and the role is dev pod reader that I have created before here. You got these 3 files? Sanmaya, Sid, Hardik, girls, online, cities. Okay, nice. So once you create all these things, we need to verify the access. Now, who is the user here? Jack. So assume now Jack has logged in. So here what we can do is we can impersonate. What is that? Because do we have anything now here login as a Jack? No. So you just need to impersonate, and then there is a command that can the Jack can do things or not. Can you tell me here? kubectl auth, can I list pods as a Jack? Answer is, can he create the pods? No, because I have given only get list watch. You understand? Should we replicate this? Should we do this? Online? No? Okay. So first what I need to create? RBAC is all about three things. What are those? Huh? Service account, role, role binding. बोलो 3 बार. बोलो क्यूबरनेट्स महाराज की. हाँ बोलो. हाँ. Okay. So service account, role, role binding. Simple. Think logic. Don't remember it. So think as a logically thing. So first what we need to create? We need to create a user. But do we create a user here? No, user will not be supported in the Kubernetes. So what you need to create here? Service account. So create a service account. And then we need to give the permissions. Permissions nothing but role. And then we attach the permission to the user. That is nothing but role binding. That's the point. Okay. SRR. Okay. Service account role binding. SSRB. Huh? SRRB. Okay, chalo. So first we'll create what? Service account. Dot YAML. Guys, I'm using manifest file. Can you use the command also to create a service account? The best way is to go with this. Okay. Online and everyone, tell me. As it is small, we can write with our hands, right? ABI version colon. Which one? V1. Next, which one? Kind. What's the kind here? S capital letter and then A capital letter. And then meta data. What is the name? Name as Jack. And then in which namespace? Namespace is? Oh, before that we need to create a dev namespace, no? So I'll just save it. Okay. So before I run this, first we need to, if you run also, will this work? It will not work. It give you an error called dev namespace not found something. So what is the command to create a namespace? kubectl get a create ns. Yes or no? Next. So, okay, that's fine. So we created, right? So now should we go and execute this service account.yaml file? What's the command? So before that, what we need to, we need to set it to the context to the dev namespace or not? Command. kubectl. Very good. ఇప్పుడే కదా పోయింది. kubectl config set hyphen context. Which one? Current namespace. Which one? Okay. If we do kubectl config view, you will see the namespace. Okay. Now let's run that. kubectl create -y -f. Which one? Sorry. Jack account created. Yes or no? I think there is a kubectl get SA. SA meaning what? Shortcut. kubectl get SA. So this one is created. Next, what I need to create? We need to create a role. So it will take time to write. So can I take this here? So let's go vi role.yaml. Please try to Go inside this manifest and try to understand. I already explained, but see with your eyes for a few seconds. So these pods, certain pods will be containing into this. So particularly pod is a resource, right? Pod is a resource. All these pod resources will be into that API group. So if you put empty, by default, all the pods it is into group. It's a by default. It's a by default only. API groups. We can call it as core API group. Core API group. Ready? Okay, na? This is fine? Okay. Next up. kubectl create -f. Which one? Role. What's the next thing? Binding. pi role binding dot. See this ones. We did first see. In which namespace we created a role? Dev. So every in separately we can create roles for every namespace or not? Is this clear? Okay, I'll explain this again. So here, what are the two things that we created already? One is service account, another one is roles. So those are two separate things we created. Now what I need to do? Bind it. Yes or no? So to bind it, what are the things that I need to bind? I need to bind user and I need to bind a role using role binding. Using what? Role binding. So what's the kind I'm using here? Role binding, and name of the role binding is read pods, and in which namespace? Dev. And we have two subjects here. So what are those? User and then role. We need to bind these two, right? What is the user? Jack. And what is the role here? Role and then dev pod. See, Karthik, API group, huh? Kind of, yeah. You can have multiple subjects inside. For role reference, hyphen is not required. No, 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 no. Everything is one. This is only, it's not multiple things. If you have a hyphen, then again it will take as a separate item. No. If you have only one hyphen, all these things will come under only in one item. So whenever you create a kind user Jack, and this particular user, immediately you are attaching this role to this user. If you're using again hyphen here, this will consider as a separate item. Then it will not work. You got the point. And before the question that you asked, API group, I told you core for pods. Which one? For pods. The core API group is empty. So for this RBAC authentication, the group API group is RBAC authentication kh.io. So for users, for roles, API group is what? This. For pods, API group is empty. Okay. Vidit, is this clear, Vidit? Okay. So let's go. And then, what do we need to do? kubectl, create -f role bindings. Role binding was created now. Okay. Now, so if I want to list the roles, what's the command? kubectl get which one? Roles. In which namespace I have created? hyphen n. So we have dev pod reader role created. Okay. So now I have created a user called Jack. I have given the permissions to him, and then I have binded the permissions and the user together using role binding. Now there is a command whether Jack can do or not. We can test it from here itself. Similarly, in AWS, we have something called simulator. No idea? No idea. Yes or no? Simple as that. Huh? No. So policy. This online people are saying. Oh, this is 7:30. Oh, no, AWS. Oh, you are all my AWS people only, no? Policy simulator is there, no? Uh, Omna, good. So somewhere, where is that policy simulator? So where is that? Custom policy. No. Where is that policy simulator? Yeah. Okay. Anyways, so policy simulator, okay, I'll tell you what is that policy simulator is. Generally, what we do is we write the policies, inline policies. And then what you do? You attach it to the user. There are two things that you need to do. How do you know whatever the policy that you have attached? Let's say, for example, he can start EC2 instances policy you have written, and you attach to the user. Now, two things. One thing is you give username and password to that user. Let's say I'm taking Karthik example. So in my IAM account, I created IAM user called Karthik, and I have attached the permission called start and stop policy. I have attached to the Karthik. So now I'll give username password to Karthik or not. So Karthik as a human being, what he'll do, he'll log into the account and he'll start doing start and stop. And he will get to know he's able to start, and he will get to know he can help it to stop or not. How do I get to know? How do I get to know? Before I give the username and password to Karthik, I will simulate the policy. Policy simulator. What's that? So there is a button in the IAM policy simulator. If you click on it, so automatically one console will open, and that console will tell you that the person can do what or cannot do what. What he can do, what he cannot do. It's like impersonating. I will be considering as Karthik and checking whether he can do stop and start or not. So Pusuk, he can do terminate. It's good. It's not bad, right? So it is impersonating. What's that? Here also now Jack user I have created. Jack is not there. So how do I know Jack can do things or not? So can I impersonate and run the commands or not? So for that there is a command. Say with me. kubectl auth. Can I say that? Can I list pods in which namespace? Which namespace? Dev as whom? Tell me the answer. If I run the command, when the Jack has logged in, what I'm asking here, can I list pods? Can he list the pods? Answer is, can I? Uh, Answer is, please don't ask me, sir. Yes in green color, no, why not in red color? पता है नहीं भाई. Delete. Understood? Get. Another one is what? Understood? Get list watch. Yes, sir. Rest all. That's how we set up the RBACs. Remember, if you are setting the RBACs, three important things. Create a service account, create a permissions for him. Permissions are nothing but here, roles, and then role binding. Clear? Online clear now? Online clear, please. Super. Okay. Now, before I go to that service concept that you guys are waiting, before that, I'll go with another command, another kind. In uh, in Docker Swarm, in Docker, we learned about replica service, global service. Yes or no? Online. Yes or no? Online. Replica service, global service. What is the difference between replica service and global service? Replica service will replicate the pods, replicate the containers in all the nodes. Let's say, for example, we Docker Swarm you set up, and what's the command? Docker service hyphen name, service name, and then replicas is equal to how many we gave? For example, 3. Okay. How many nodes were there in Docker Swarm? How many nodes were there before? Docker Swarm. 1, 2, 3, below 4. In Docker Swarm, how many nodes we set up? अरे क्या यार? In Docker Swarm, how many nodes? ध्यान से सुनो. In Docker Swarm, how many nodes we set up? Okay, if you are learning too much things, okay. Docker Swarm क्या है? High availability. Docker Swarm में क्या क्या है nodes? Master node, worker node. कितने master nodes थे? कितने worker nodes थे? Total कितने nodes? यही पूछ रहा था मैं. अच्छा बोल रहे थे क्या थी? अरे क्या यार वो सुना नहीं दे रहा मुझे. हाँ? Yeah, I'm teaching in Hindi also. Okay. Hey, Krishna is saying 1 and 2. Guys, in Docker Swarm, how many machines that we set up? 3 machines, no? 1 master, 1 leader node, 1 master, and then 2 worker nodes. Okay. So now we have 3 nodes total. So you ran the command Docker service hyphen replica is equal to 3, for example. 3 meaning in all 3 nodes, one container will get created or not? Everyone say yes. Now replica I given 1. How many nodes are there? How many nodes are there? 3 nodes. And how? Okay, his question is containers. So now replicas, I said only 1. Nodes are 3. So 1 container will be created only on 1 node. Rest 2 nodes have how many containers? 0. So that do we guarantee in Docker Swarm, in replication concept, that every node will must and should contain 1 container? Do we guarantee it? We cannot guarantee. When you go for global service, we can guarantee. If you create a replicas, there is no concept called replica in global service. If you create a containers, Docker Compose, you create a Docker Compose YAML file, and then you write related to global service. Remember global service hyphen mode we have global. So using that, if you run that Docker Compose, we don't mention any replicas there. Do we mention any replicas there? In global service, we will not mention the replicas. Without mentioning the replicas, still it will create 3 containers, each container in one node guarantee. So every node will contain one container guarantee. Whereas in replica, it's not guaranteed. Whereas in global service, guarantee. Why we need global service? Why? Reason is why we need global service is, let's say for example, you want to do the monitoring. What you want to do? So you want to monitor all the 3 nodes. If you want to monitor all the 3 nodes, containers should run on all the 3 nodes or not? So let's say for example, Prometheus, Grafana will be learning in coming days. So for everything you have an agent or not? Now tell me, agent is the guy who will be giving the entire monitoring CPU and memory information. Yes or no? Now tell me that agent is nothing but a container or not? Agent I'll be installing on the container. Can you tell me that the agent should be in only one node or in all node? In all the nodes. Then only I'll get the metrics information about all nodes. If you use replica, if you use replication concept and you create this container which has an agent, it will go and sit only in the one node. It will go and sit only on one node. So do I get the logs information or monitoring information from other nodes? So for this logging system monitoring point of view, will you go for replication concept, or will you go for global service? Understood the concept? Same Docker Swarm global service here in Kubernetes, we call it as daemon set. What's that? Replica set, this one is daemon set. In replica set, we learned already, right? Replica set meaning what? It will create the multiple replicas or not? Remember? In replica set, we in the YAML file, in manifest file, we'll say replica is equal to 3. That is replication set kind. But here I'm creating a kind called what? Daemon set. Which one? Do I need to give replicas here in daemon set? Answer is no. Without giving the replicas, if you go and run this manifest file, every node will must and should will contain what? One pod will be guarantee running. So if you want every node to have one pod guaranteed to be sit over there, so then which concept you should use? Daemon set. I bet Chitty, if you go in internet and ask all these questions, you'll go mad. There is no proper explanation on all these things. They'll give one big nasty paragraphs. Everything will looks like same only, but understanding is very difficult. Now you understand the clear difference between replicas there in Docker Swarm and global service. Here, replica set versus daemon set. Replica set will create the replicas, whereas daemon set will also create a replicas, but one pod is guarantee on each node. Same manifest file, but we will remove what? Replicas. Okay. Thank you, Ritual. Okay, see another here. Daemon set. Daemon set ensure one pod per node for system level services. Mainly used for what purpose? Used for monitoring, logging, networking, and security. Will you miss monitoring, logging, networking, security in another node? No, right? Every node we need to have all these things or not? In that case, will you go for replica setup? Will you go for daemon setup? So automatically add remove pods when node joins and leave the cluster. That's fine. Okay, see here this manifest file. Same manifest file. But do we have in the spec, do we have replicas here? No. I'll show you the previous manifest file. For deployment, for replica set, for everything what we have here, replicas. But for daemon set, what we have? We don't have any replicas. That is the, in daemon, we don't have any replicas. Same. I didn't put any replicas here, but still it will create how many pods? One pod per node. How many nodes are there? 3 nodes. How many pods it will create? Hey, give me the one stick. Huh? How many pods will create? आज सीट यहाँ पे बैठा हो क्या? Huh? That's the logic, no? How can you miss that logic? Online are missing. Guys, I'm just joking. Huh? How can I do that? Huh? You're all my small sweet students, no? Okay, fine. So, guys, I'm saying here, does the master node hold any pod? Even though we have 3 nodes, so master node will not hold any pod. For that reason, we'll get only how many? 2 pods in the each nodes. Okay. So let's take this and create vi. Which one? Daemon set dot yml. See this once. Same thing we are using. It's best practice. It's not mandatory, but what we are doing, we are using selector no here, right? So if you, it's not mandatory, right? But the thing is, since our day one, we are using that HDFC Bank, right? So for that reason, I'm doing the labels. So it's not mandatory to have the labels. Definitely need labels. Where? You, it's not mandatory. You can have what you in AWS, we learned about tagging, no? Mandatory, optional. But if you give, it is best for you. If you don't give, managing will be difficult for you. If you have 100 spots running, if you don't give labels, how do you identify which spot is for which application? For that reason, we always give the labels. Okay. Why 3 nodes only create, sir? What is that question, Dinesh? Why 3 nodes only create? It will create pods, not nodes. Nodes cluster is already set up. See, you didn't concentrate it. Dinesh, see. Okay. Pods, right? That is the concept of demand set. Did you mention any replicas here? You don't mention any replicas. But without mentioning the replicas, this demand set will go and create the pods in all the worker nodes. No, by default 3. No, Dinesh. By default is it 3? How many nodes are there? 3 nodes are there, but 1 is master and 2 are worker nodes. I told you that master node will have the pods. No. And how many nodes are left now? 2 nodes. 2 worker nodes are there. So that meaning how many pods it will create? 2. How many worker nodes are there? Those many pods will be created. Okay. Okay. Before I running kubectl get pods. Do you have any pods now? I don't have any pods. Let's run this. kubectl create -f. Which one? Demand set. Created. Now if I do get pods, how many pods will be running? Do you see now? Did I mention any replicas? Without mentioning replicas, how it is duplicating my pods in 2 worker nodes? Depending the number of worker nodes. That is the concept of demand set. Online understood, Nana? Dinesh? How to list the demand set? Cube, CTL, get, demand set. DS, shortcut. Demand set meaning here, DS. Okay. So Yes or no? MB daemon we created just now. So if you want to list from particular namespace, then what you do? Hyphen hyphen, very good. Name space is equal to which one? Default or dev or whichever you want. We are in the dev, no? So all these things can I separately create in different namespaces or not? It's completely isolated. Namespaces are completely. You can create. You can create daemons. You can create your role bindings. Everything is namespace specific. Super. Delete the daemon set. Okay, sorry. Kubectl. Delete. ds name. mb hyphen daemon. Gone. Clear on the daemon set. Online. Can I get CC please? Okay. Next, let's go to the wonderful topic. Services. Which one? Services. Whenever we talk about Kubernetes services, remember in the day one, I told you about this already. Can you expose your application using replica set? Can you expose using deployment? Can you expose using a daemon set? So if you want to expose your application to the internet, then we need to use Kubernetes services. What do you need to use? So Kubernetes services allowed you to expose applications which is running on the pod. Okay. So the key concepts of Kubernetes services are, what are those? Cluster IP, node port, load balancer. Many people will say these three. Beach mein aur ek aaya. People don't know that. We call it as target port. What's that? People are get lots of confusion between node port, target port. Let's see what are all these things. So what are the, actually target port is not mandatory, but we can go for the target port. Okay. If you don't put the target port, Kubernetes will automatically take port 80, but I'm just mentioning it. Okay. So listen carefully. So what are this one? First one is what? Cluster IP. I told you, when do we use cluster IP? Internal purpose. So is it good to use cluster IP? So within the internal purpose, you use it. If you, so what? So yeah, correct. So correct. So here, instead of using cluster IP, what the whole concept of this is, we need to expose our application to the internet. So if you're having the internal IP, that will work within the cluster. Which one is that? Cluster IP. Which one is that? So if you want to expose your application, this node port will expose, but you will expose with the port number. What's that? With the port number. So see here, who is the guy in the worker node who will be assigning the port numbers? Everything related to networking. कौन से वाला? That is the right answer. Cube project. Remember, that's the power of basics. That's how we need to find out, right? Okay. So who is the guy who will be assigning the ports to the all your pods here? Kube proxy. And Kube proxy has a strict rule put by our Kubernetes cluster. That cluster will say, master node will say, hey, Kube proxy, if you want to allocate the port, you allocate, no problem, but I'll give the range. In that range only you allocate. And that range is 30,000. Say that 30,000 to 32,767. So within this only the node port should be work. We need to, not we also allocate, or Kubernetes automatically will allocate. So please remember, what is this here? How much, what is the port range? 30,000 to 32767. Okay. So, but your application will be accessed through the port number. Good. Good. No. But internally, can we use it or not? Internal purpose, you can use it. But externally, can you use it? No. So for that reason, we go for what? Load balancer. Load balancer, I no need to explain. You know that load balancer concept. And another one, what we have here is target port. Nothing. Target port is nothing but here pod container port. What is that? In the pod, we have the container. Our application is running on, let's say Tomcat is running on port 8080. No, that 8080 is the target port. What is the target? Which port we need to target? Application, right? That is the target port. Node port meaning server पे. Node port meaning server. Target port meaning application. Understood? The big difference, right? So node port and then target. So if you want to expose outside, do we use target port or node port? We go with the node port. Load balancer is this. Okay, fine. Fine. So should we go it? Simple. See, we go with the what? Service.yaml. Same thing, but I'm going for what kind here? Deployment. We'll use daemon set. Replica set. You understand the difference between replica set and then replica set and deployment? What is the difference? Rollouts will not happen. Yes or no? That's how you need to answer it. Right? So where rollouts, replica set, rollouts will not happen. Whereas with deployments, the application rollout, rollback can be done or not? Correct, Dinesh. Yes, exactly with it. Okay, Nana. So what is it? So I'm using kind what? Deployment. So now you have so now it is clear for you why I'm not using replica set here. Replica set is old fashioned. Will not be. I should be telling like this. It's a old fashioned. It's still be used, but it is a old fashioned. If you want to expose and if you want to roll out rollbacks, then which kind we use here? Deployment. And then how many replicas? 3. Match label, all this fine. Do you remember all these things? So template meaning our pod should use this label and our pod should contain this container. See now, till now I have used only this. One API version only, one block only. Can we have nested manifests files? What's that called? Nested manifest file. Nested manifest means manifest file under manifest file. Simply what you can do, put to dash 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 and write one more manifest file. Okay, see here what this doing. This is doing the deployment. This is doing the exactly Dinesh, correct. This is a deployment and how many replicas, how many pods it's creating? 3 pods. And what is the label it is using? Banker. And then which container name it is using? Container 1. What's the image it is using? IP image. Done. Patak. So my infrastructure is created now. Now that application need to be exported outside, no? If you want to expose that application outside, then what is the kind I'm using here? Service. You can create separate manifest also, and you can mix it also. Combine also. So what's the kind I'm using here? Service. What is the name of the service? IB service. And what type I'm using here? Cluster IP. What type I'm using here? Instead of cluster IP, I'll put there node port. Instead of node port, I put there load balancer. You getting it? Okay. And then as it is cluster IP, guys, this port and then inside the selector is this bank ports. Port :80. By default, your Kubernetes service port number will work on port 80. Which one? Service. Kubernetes service port is 80. And then here, see, exposes the service on port 80. Target port. IB image is there, no? What is that IB meaning? IB image meaning internet banking, no? Our internet banking Apache is there no inside of your image. Apache, and Apache is running on which port number? 80. That is the target port. What is the target port here? Internal port. Container port. Container. Container is nothing internal only. No? Container port or see port ports container listen on what? 80. If you don't put target port also, by default it will take what? 80 only. Very good, Dinesh. Yes. How the traffic flows here, guys? See, client connects to first which one? Kites connect to here. IB service. What is service name here? On which port number? So service forward the request to the pods. So what is the pod container here? Pod contains port number 80. If it is you have Tomcat inside it, the target port should be 8080. Service port should be always 80. Getting it? Exactly. So node port, I didn't come. I'm just talking about the here only target port. Node port will come. The next one. We are talking about what here? First one, service. Okay. Cluster IP I'm talking about. What I'm talking up here? Cluster IP. So here we have understood the cluster IP concept here. But if I run this, what will happen? Can I access my application from outside? Answer is no. Should we run this first of all? Let's take it. Okay. Do we have any pods running first of all? Nothing. Should we set to our default namespace? Not this. Here it is. Okay. So do you have any pods running here? No pods. Do you have any deployments? No deployments. So it's clean now. So should we go and create a service? Any file? Okay. Let's go with VI cluster IP. Cluster IP dot. See this. This one you already know. Yes or no? Top one you already know. Please little bit concentrate on the bottom one. What's the kind I'm using here? No, this is the infrastructure I have set up. And I'm exposing that my application to this using this. Using what? Service. What's the service name? So what is the type, service type I'm using? And this service is, for assigned to which pods, which is having the label as bank. And then cluster IP, and then what is the port? Service port is 80, and the container port is. Understood? Online, clear, Nana here? Online, please. Dinesh question, both need to be same. Our port, service port number, target port number, both need to be same or both? Application port number, container port number, it can be different. Yes. Okay. Let's create it. kubectl create -f. Which one? What's that? Cluster IP. So now see what it created two things. One is it created a deployment and it created what? Service, because we have written two manifest file in the single manifest file. Otherwise, you need to run two times. kubectl create -f service.yml, and then another one is deployment.yml. So now I'm putting both in the same or not? Okay. Now kubectl get pods. How many pods are running? Why? Because I have replicas I have given here 3. And service I have created. No. Can you tell me list the service? kubectl get service, or get shortcut is, tell me now, SVC. Which one? SVC. Kubernetes already have one thing, which is limit. And what is the service we have created here? IB service. What is that here? IB service. But in which type we have created here? Cluster IP. This is a cluster IP. Do you have any external IP for this? No. Your service port is working on port 80. But can I access it from outside? Okay, let's test it. So for example, we have the node, right? You tell me which node IP address I need to take. Master, should we take master? Error. Can I take master? No, because what is there in master? If you go and touch it, that will scream. Which one? API server will come. Cube, what is that? Scheduler will come. Hey, this is not your home. Go that. Right? So that's why we should not touch. So you should not use, Dinesh, you should not use master node because pods are not there on the master node. See, what's the command? Get pods hyphen O, right. And it is on FE 78. FE is which one? This node. 78, this node. Is there on master node? No. So select any one of them, copy this on port 80. So I know it port. Will this work? It will not work because we are used which type there? Cluster IP. We have used what? Cluster IP. It will not work. So for that reason, so we will not be using what? Cluster IP. We will not be using cluster IP. Online. Cluster IP is clear enough. So this service has a cluster IP, but you cannot be exposed to the internet. So, but if you want to use it within the internal like databases and internal things, then you can go for cluster, no problem. So next one here is online. Is this clear on the cluster IP, please? Okay, see here, I get SVC. Okay. Now go with that. Correct, Dinesh. So should we create one more? Okay. So can you tell me how to delete this? First of all, let us delete this. kubectl delete. kubectl delete. Which one? I want service to delete. Okay. Should I tell you one more technique to delete it? Easy way. kubectl delete -f. Which is the manifest file you used? Cluster IP. So whatever you have used inside the cluster IP YAML, everything will be deleted. So here, because we have used two manifest files inside it, so instead of going and delete one by one, so you need to delete the deployment, you need to delete the service separately. Instead of that, kubectl delete, you put the file, whatever is there will get deleted. Okay. Now I'll edit that. So what is that file I have? Cluster IP YAML, right? Now I'll rename that to node port. What the next one is? Just rename. Cluster IP to what? Is it mandatory? No, it's not mandatory. Just to show you. Now we have the node port. VI, which one? Node port YAML. So here what I need to change? Tell me. Fantastic. What you need to do? You need to change the type. Everything is same. But instead of here cluster IP, what I did? Here I need to put what? Node P capital letter. Node port. Online, you're getting it? Super. Okay, let's save one thing here. Node port, I've changed the type, but are you giving the port number? We need to give the port number or not? Target port is different. That is the container part port. So we need to expose this our application to outside world or not. So for that reason, what I need to put here? You need to put the port number also at the end. But I'll show you two ways. I'm not putting it. If you don't put it, I told you Kubernetes by default will randomly generate the port number or not within the range of 30,000 to 32,000 between. Okay. So I'm not putting any port number here. Without putting the port number, I'm running it. Let's see what it shows. Tell me. Can do apply also? Can do apply also? Create also. And then which one is that? Node port. Created. Now tell me. Get service. What is that? kubectl. Get service. Now do you see this here something? Previously it was not there, right? And the port number is also 30,546. Right? kubectl. You want to describe the big stuff? Describe SVC. What is that service name? Service name. See this here. No, see this. This command is very important. kubectl describe SVC. Basically, your describe. See, kubectl get service. It will just give only for 80 and this one. But if you want to get more details about it, so you give describe SVC. See here, in which namespace we created. What is the name of the service? What is the selector? What type is this? And what is the port number? Service port number? 80. Target port number? 80. Node port. Automatically assigned or not? You can see the same thing here, or you can see the here. Now, if I take this and put it here, colon this, will it work or not? Online, no. Enter. If it is taking this much time, that means working or not working. Site cannot be reached. Why? I know. What is that? Very good, Rajesh. What is this here, Nana? Security groups. So I told you a thumb rule all the time. If something is, if you're not able to connect to the server, check security group. If you're not able to open the website, check the security group first. And I see here, our Kubernetes, I told you yesterday that it will create a separate security groups. Yes or no? And you tell me which security group we are using here? Which one? Which security group I should enable this now? Exactly. Which one? Nodes. Because why? Because I'm using the node port, right? So node IP address I need using. So which one you need to select here? Nodes. So here, edit it. And then do we have any HTTP here at all? So better you go with what? All traffic and then this. Otherwise you can go with the HTTP. No. No. There is a logic. If I put this, will this work? So HTTP is working on which one? 80, but our port number is 30,000 something. So here, which one you need to put? Custom TCP and put the port number. Put either that or else simply put what? All traffic. Now if I go here and there we go. So did we deploy our application exposed to the internet or not? Our application is running in the Kubernetes and our application is running inside the pod. Feel it. It's great. If you do these things in the company, no? Clear? Huh? Understood? Online. Editing security group is not good practice. Who said? So definitely you need to edit the security group. Otherwise, how it will work? Good, Omnath. So giving all traffic is not a good practice. So instead of it, if you don't want, no, it will not change, Prajwal. So if you don't want to do that, so go with the custom port number and then enable it. Okay, guys, this is clear. But will you give the customer with this port number at the end? What we do? We use what? Load balancer. What we use? Load balancer. So guys, here in the node port, in the manifest file, did I give any my static port number? Did I give my static port number? Simply what you need to do is in the bottom, do you see this here? Node port you just give. What do you need to give? In our manifest file, VI, which one is that? Node port. So what is the last one here? Only target port. So what you need to do after the on top of it? So on bottom, what you need to do? What do you need to do here? Node port and then give whichever you want. What is that? 31433. You can give anyone. You can give any port number, but it should be between the 30,000 to 32,000. So if you just put that port number and then that is a static one where you can be using it. So I showed you two things here. Without port number, with port number. Clear? Node port concept? Huh? Where? Where? Tell me. kubectl? Describe. Huh? Mm, mm, mm. I already did, no? We already. Okay, one more time. Huh? Okay, see. See here. One we are using here for this service. For IB service, what is the type we are using here? Node port. That is number one. Okay. Here, what is another port? This is the port, right? This port is what port, Nana? Service port. Which port? This is service port. This one. Okay. Next one is what? Target port. This is container port. It's always 80. That is internally in the Kubernetes. So first it will come to the service. It's like load balancer. So first request will come to the service on port 80 and then it will redirect to the target port. Service is not a pod. Service is service only, no? Pod is this. Okay. But how to redirect and all Kubernetes will take care. But see here. This is a pod. This is the machine. Hold on. Work or not. Okay. This is K8 cluster. Okay. This one is okay. And this one is, and this one is, and inside it, okay, worker node. And this one is node port here. Huh? This one is service port. And this inside the container port is, how understood? Okay. Super. Okay. Now, so this is the target. Target port is this one. Okay. Arthik, okay. So, yeah. Okay. So let's move on. So we have, what is the last thing that we have here? Load balancer. Before that, should we delete it first? What is the command to delete? EFCTL, delete -F. Which one? Node. So we'll move that node port to lb.yml. Okay, here what is the change that we need to do? Type to load balance. Here what I put, Nana? Load, L capital letter, B capital. So I told you guys here, you can use the port, target port 80, and also you can have a node port also. But you know, it's not mandatory. You select your load balancer, automatically AWS will generate the node ports. Load balancer is the high level of automation there. Okay. So if you want to put node port also, you can put the node port. See, I'm putting node port also. Node, which one? Okay. Tell me one number. 31,433, for example. 1433. 31433. Is mandatory or not mandatory? Not mandatory. So you can test it. Okay. I'm just putting for fun. Let's see whether it works or not. So load balancer. Okay. kubectl, create or apply. So do you understand the difference between create and apply? If it is a new one, create. If you modify the manifest file and if you want to do it, apply it. Okay. And then lbyml. Created. Now display. Okay. Let's go one by one. Which type is this? Load balancer. Do you see this load balancer or load balancer? Nasty name. That's a big nasty name. Okay. And then port here. This is service port. Okay. This is what? 311433. I love you. Huh? Whatever. So here, this is a node port. If you don't put the node port, guys, if you don't put the node port, automatically generate another random port here. It's not mandatory to put the node port. These are all logical things. Even experienced people doesn't know. They just copy paste the manifest files. But you are the one, logically, we should learn it. Okay, you should become the master in Kubernetes. So, and then here we have the load balancer or not? Yes. So we call it as load balancer ingress. Say that. Ingress is another topic that will come later, but here we call it as load balancer ingress. Okay, fine. So my load balance is ready or not? So if I go here, close it, and paste it. Oopsie, not that. So here, this one. Okay. Will this work or not? Boom. Congratulations. We have our application deployed with load balancing. Exactly. That is the purpose of load balancer. Now this is a nasty load balancer. What we do? Make up Cloud 53. Now you have your real application working on load balancer, boom.com. This is how you do the deployments in Kubernetes. If you redeploy again, it will change. It will change. It will not change. If you create a new thing, obviously it will delete, and then you can see that here. If you go to our load balancer, there should be one load balancer here. You see this load balancer? This one. But the thing is here, this load balancer is what type of load balancer is this? Classic load balancer. I told you how to change it. Edit our cluster and then change from type from classic to network. And then this will come here, application load balancer. Online, clear Nana? How to deploy stuffs? How to deploy your application in Kubernetes? So we have deployed applications in EC2 instance. We have deployed applications in Dockers. We have deployed applications also in Kubernetes. Okay. Online, clear? Can we use application network load balance the same application? No. So what is the difference? There is a difference, no? Prajwal. Application load balancer used for application purpose. Network load balancer, network load balancer will use for network purpose. If you have anything related to the backend network related things, then we go for network load balancer. We need to use only one. Please show again how to do the classic to network. Guys, Krishna, what is the command, guys? kubectl edit cluster. You put the cluster name and then go inside it and then change it. There is directly the command is there. And I've given this command already. Please check it, Krishna. Will you able to do this, guys? Huh? End-to-end clear? So, yes, we will see how to deploy this. We'll also integrate to Jenkins later, not now. We have topics still pending, a lot of topics. Okay, so I'll put all these things. And by the way, yesterday I didn't show you. Guys, you need to, what do you need to do? Delete the cluster. Guys, you need to delete the cluster. What's that command, guys? Delete. Sorry, kubectl. Delete cluster dot k8 dot local. That's it. Hyphen yes, sir. What is the command? Huh? Hyphen yes, correct? Okay. Yes for everything, right? No. Cluster hyphen. No, Ray. Oh, this is cluster. No, not kubectl. It's DevOps. So this will take time and then delete all the VPC security groups, machines, and everything. If you don't do this, if you don't delete from here, you need to delete individually each and everything in AWS. In AWS, one VPC will get created. You need to delete that VPC. You need to delete the security groups. You delete the volumes. You need to delete a lot of things. You need to manually delete it. So do you see what are the things it is deleting? See, route tables, VPC, security groups, volumes, a lot of things it will get deleted. So best way is to delete from here. Huh? Yesterday I forgot to tell you. That's why I put that command in the chat. again. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Service. We are. This load balancer is all about the service. Infrastructure should be there. You can modify, update whatever you can do, but service should not be touched. If you do redo it again new load balance will get created. Yes. Uh, Possible. Yes. Okay. Fine. So I'll be uploading all these tasks in the Google Classroom. Please go ahead and then complete it. Tomorrow there is no class for you. Okay. Practice well and lot of practice. Lot of practice is required. Kubernetes. How much nicely you do the practice, that much nicely you remember all the topics, and then you can easily clear the interviews. There are a lot of job opportunities on AWS and DevOps, right? So please try to do all these things. On Monday, we'll go for next topic. We call it as hipster. What is that? Hipster. Hipster. Monitoring. Auto scaling. Which one? So till now we have done manually only, right? So next class we go with what? We do it. We have something called HPA, VPA, horizontal pod auto scaling, vertical pod auto scaling concepts are there. So for that, we need to have something called metric server. That metric server, we call it as hipster, another name, right? Metric server. What is that? Metric server, we call it as hipster. And then we'll talk about how to do the automatic auto scaling. Same concept in AWS we have learned, right? What do? You do the take a metric CPU utilization, tell, hey, service, this CPU utilization is going greater than this, a metric server, create the pods, run the command. You can run the command also, you can have a manifest file also, anything is fine. And then it will take care of it. Automatically pods will auto scale out also, scale in also. Just run the command and leave it. So I purposely giving you to practice tomorrow. So complete the practice and then we'll do a lot of things. Kalyani, for curiosity asking, don't we have GUI for this? Kubernetes dashboard is there, but no one will be using that Kubernetes dashboard. How we have a Portainer? You tell me, are you interested to use Portainer? Yeah. CLI is good. Okay, can you give the final CC for today? Okay, let's do one thing. As you have 2 days, try to set up. Guys, in this entire DevOps, did I give any exploring topic till now? Why? Because each and every topic slowly I'm teaching you. One topic I'm giving to you. Because this is a weekend. Set up Kubernetes dashboard. Simple. Set up Kubernetes dashboard. Whatever today's concept, that will be there in dashboard. Okay. If I tell everything, what is up? There will be a GitHub. In GitHub, you just need to take one YAML file. Manifest file will be readily available for Kubernetes dashboard, kubectl apply, and then that YAML file. All the pods, services, deployments will be created automatically. And you need to do some little bit changes. And today's class will be apt to set up Kubernetes dashboard. Because to set up the Kubernetes dashboard, you need to create the service accounts, you need to create the roles, you need to do the role binding, right? And then you need to do all these things. And you need to give the node port numbers need to change. All these things will come. It will be very fun. Try to do it and don't ask me. You do it by yourself. And to just to give you, it's a GUI. It's a GUI. How we did Portainer. In Portainer, same concept. Here also, Kubernetes dashboard will come. On the left side, all your services, all your stuffs will come. Pods, country, everything will come. So just for fun, you do it. Okay. Okay. Can I give the final CC for today, please? Online. Tomorrow there is no class. And when you are setting up Kubernetes dashboard, when you are logging in, it will ask token or it will ask kubeconfig file. Try to investigate. Without token, so go with the token all the time. How to generate the tokens? It just one command will be there. The token is like a password. You go through it. It will be fun while doing it. Try to do it. In one shot, it will not happen. If it is successfully completed, make the document. Keep it with you or share with me also. Can I attend AWS again? I attended 2 years back, Ravi Ranjan. And now a lot of new things came up, Ravi Ranjan. Okay. Online. Can you give the final CC, please? So that is all for today. Let's connect on Monday with the next beautiful topic. When is your AWS? So guys, my new batch will start soon. It got little bit delayed, maybe 1 or 2 weeks. So please just hang on, because other trainers batches are going on. Because if I start my batch, all people will come here. So let's give chance. So that's why I'll be waiting. It get delayed a little bit. Okay. Timing will be morning 10:30. That's the only free slot I have. So that's all. Let's connect tomorrow with the next, not tomorrow, on the Monday with the next topic. Until then, take care, guys. See you on Monday. Good night. Bye-bye.